You've been waiting, praying, and hoping for a breakthrough. You've been walking in faith, doing all the right things, yet it feels like nothing is happening. Today, I want to tell you this: God is about to surprise you. He is about to take everything that has been delayed, everything that has been denied, everything that has been disappointing, and He is going to turn it around in ways you never imagined. This message is not just about hope. It's about expectation. It's about believing that the God who has never failed you before is still at work and is ready to shift your story suddenly, powerfully, and remarkably. You may not see it yet, but the shift is coming. The breakthrough is on the way. Get ready to step into a new season where your faith meets God's favor, where your prayers meet His power, and where your patience meets a divine surprise that will exceed anything you could have imagined. When it comes to breakthroughs and blessings, the first thing we need to understand is that God's timing is never late, even when it feels delayed. There are seasons in life where we move with diligence, we plan with care, and we pray with intensity, yet the results do not appear on the timetable we expected. In those moments, it's easy to become frustrated, to question, or even to feel abandoned. But the truth is, God's timing is perfect, even when it does not align with ours. Many people look at a delay and assume it is a denial, but a delay is often a divine appointment. What feels like waiting is actually preparation, shaping, and positioning you for something greater than you could have accomplished on your own. Every moment of seeming delay is a moment in which God is orchestrating details behind the scenes. These unseen workings are not random. They are intentional. They are designed to perfect your life, your character, and your readiness for the moment when your blessing arrives. Understanding this requires a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on the calendar, the clock, or how long it's been, you must focus on God's purpose. Timing is not about speed, it is about alignment with His will. The story of Joseph in the Bible is one of the clearest illustrations of this principle. Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and thrown into prison. By every human measure, his life seemed delayed, stalled, and unfair. Yet each step, each setback, each moment of waiting was part of God's perfect plan. When the time came, Joseph was elevated from prison to the palace, from obscurity to authority, and from suffering to triumph. The delay was not a denial, it was God preparing him for the fullness of his destiny. This principle is not only biblical, but practical in our daily lives. Sometimes when doors remain closed, it is because God is redirecting us to a better door, one we could not have reached if we had rushed. Sometimes the resources, relationships, or wisdom we need are being developed during the waiting period. Delays cultivate patience, resilience, and trust, qualities that are necessary to handle the very blessings we are anticipating. It is also important to recognize that the human perception of late is limited. We see the seconds, the hours, the days, and the months. God sees the entirety of our lives and the eternity in which our actions unfold. What seems late to us may be exactly on time in God's greater plan. This perspective changes everything. Waiting no longer becomes a source of anxiety or doubt. It becomes an opportunity to grow closer to God, to deepen your faith, and to refine your purpose. Another reason delays occur is protection. Sometimes we are ready for a blessing in one way, but not in another. The timing ensures that we receive what we need in the right measure, in the right season, and in a way that does not harm us or others. In this sense, waiting is an act of divine care. Every delay is wrapped with intention, strategy, and love. As we navigate periods of waiting, it is essential to maintain a posture of expectancy. Expectation is not simply hope. It is a deliberate, confident trust that God is at work. When you live in expectation, you are actively participating in the miracle. Your faith aligns with His plan, and that alignment positions you for sudden shifts that defy natural reasoning. Waiting with expectation is transformative. It allows your heart to remain hopeful rather than discouraged, your vision to remain focused rather than blurred, and your spirit to remain steadfast rather than shaken. You may not understand why it hasn't happened yet. You may not see the path ahead clearly. But if you hold on to the truth that God's timing is never late, every moment of waiting becomes meaningful. You begin to recognize that the pause is productive, The silence is intentional and the delay is purposeful. Expectation shifts outcomes. This is a truth that many overlook, yet it is one of the most powerful principles for experiencing God's favor and seeing breakthroughs manifest in life. When you expect change, you are no longer operating in the realm of uncertainty or doubt. Expectation is an active declaration of faith. It is saying with confidence that what has been promised to you will indeed come to pass. It changes the way you think, the way you act, and the way you respond to life's challenges. When you live without expectation, you live passively, allowing circumstances to dictate your mindset, your choices, and your responses. But when you choose to expect good things, when you choose to expect God's hand to move, you enter a realm where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. Expectation shapes your perception. It allows you to see possibilities where others see limitations, solutions where others see problems, and blessings where others see lack. It opens your eyes to opportunities that would otherwise go unnoticed because expectation tunes your spirit to recognize God's movement even before it fully manifests. Many people pray for breakthroughs, for divine interventions, for sudden shifts, but their faith is limited by their lack of expectation. They hope, but they do not expect. They ask, but they do not anticipate. Expectation is what bridges the gap between prayer and manifestation. It creates an atmosphere in which God's promises can become reality. Consider the story of the woman with the issue of blood. For 12 years, she had suffered, spent all she had on doctors, and endured pain without relief. Yet when she heard about Jesus, she expected something different. She believed that if she could just touch the hem of his garment, she would be healed. That expectation shifted her outcome. Her faith, combined with her expectation, produced a miracle. The lesson is clear. Expectation activates the power of faith. It moves your spirit from passivity to action, from doubt to confidence, and from waiting without hope to anticipating with certainty. Expectation is not wishful thinking. It is a deliberate alignment of your mind, heart, and spirit with the truth that God is faithful. It allows you to operate in the reality of his promises rather than the limitations of your current circumstances. Another way expectation shifts outcomes is by influencing your behavior and decisions. When you expect something good to happen, you begin to act in ways that prepare for that blessing. You make choices that align with the life you are anticipating. You take steps of faith that might seem bold or even risky to those who do not share your expectation. Your mind becomes solution-oriented rather than problem-focused. Your energy becomes proactive rather than reactive. In essence, expectation rewires your actions to match the destiny you are stepping into. Expectation also affects your emotional state. When you anticipate good things, your heart stays encouraged, your hope remains alive, and your faith becomes resilient. You are less likely to be discouraged by setbacks because your eyes are fixed on the outcome you believe is coming. Expectation generates perseverance. It keeps you moving forward even when the road seems long, even when obstacles appear insurmountable, and even when the world tells you to give up. This is why expectation is more than a mental exercise. It is spiritual posture. It aligns your spirit with God's promises and positions you for the manifestation of those promises. It also attracts favor and alignment from the universe. When you expect abundance, peace, restoration, and breakthrough, your energy resonates with those realities. People, opportunities, resources, and divine encounters are drawn to that expectation. In this way, expectation does not just prepare you for what is coming, it actively contributes to its arrival. Many of us have experienced moments where we doubted the outcome, where we hesitated to fully believe, or where we let fear and uncertainty dictate our attitude. In those moments, outcomes were delayed or blocked, not because God was unwilling, but because our lack of expectation created a barrier. Expectation is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. It shifts the way circumstances interact with your faith. It allows you to interpret setbacks as temporary, challenges as preparation, and delays as alignment. Without expectation, miracles are more difficult to recognize and blessings can slip by unnoticed. But when you live with expectation, your eyes are open, your faith is active, and your spirit is ready. You are no longer a passive participant in your life. You are a co-creator with God, aligning your mindset, emotions and actions with the reality you believe is coming. Expectation is transformative. It shapes the outcome of your prayers, the results of your actions, and the trajectory of your life. It is a posture that invites divine intervention, accelerates breakthroughs, and positions you for the extraordinary. When expectation is present, your ordinary circumstances can shift suddenly, your waiting period can turn into a season of celebration, and your faith can produce results that exceed even your imagination. It is the mindset that says, despite what I see, despite how long it has taken, despite the challenges, I know what God has promised, and I expect it to happen. Your breakthrough may come in unexpected ways. This is a principle that challenges our human tendency to try to control outcomes, to predict timelines, and to dictate the methods by which our prayers and efforts will bear fruit. We often have a picture in our minds of how a blessing should arrive through a promotion, a specific relationship, a particular opportunity, or a clear solution to a problem. Yet God's ways are higher than our ways, and his methods often surpass human understanding. The breakthroughs we anticipate might not arrive in the shape, form, or timing we imagine, but when they do come, they carry the power to transform our lives far beyond our expectations. One of the most important lessons about divine breakthrough is that it is never limited to the familiar. Many people fail to recognize the blessings that come because they are waiting for a familiar door to open, a specific name to call, or a predictable solution to appear. When your mind is rigid about how things should happen, you risk missing the unexpected ways God chooses to work. Breakthrough is not constrained by human imagination. It is expansive, creative, and often unconventional. This is why patience, openness, and faith are essential. You must remain willing to accept that what you receive may differ from what you envisioned, yet it will still fulfill God's promise and purpose for your life. Consider the story of Gideon in the Bible. Gideon faced what seemed to be impossible odds. He expected to fight a large army with a conventional army of soldiers, yet God chose to bring victory in an unexpected way through a small band, unconventional tactics, and the power of divine strategy. Gideon's breakthrough came, but not in the manner he might have initially anticipated. This illustrates that God's methods are often surprising, designed not only to deliver results, but also to teach us trust, reliance, and obedience. Another aspect of unexpected breakthroughs is timing. Often, we think that blessings are late if they do not align with our plans, but a breakthrough may arrive at precisely the right moment to have maximum impact. If it came earlier or in a different form, it might not have been as effective, or we might not have been ready to receive it fully. Unexpected breakthroughs also require us to recognize the divine fingerprints in the ordinary. God may use everyday encounters, chance conversations, or small opportunities to orchestrate something monumental in your life. You must train your heart and mind to recognize the significance in moments that might otherwise seem mundane. Every encounter, every experience, and every challenge may be a part of the unseen process that sets the stage for your breakthrough. This requires vigilance, attentiveness, and an expectant spirit. People often limit God's power by trying to fit him into their own understanding. They fail to see that he can open doors they never considered, provide resources in ways they never imagined, and create solutions that transcend human logic. Breakthrough is divine, and the divine does not follow human rules. It is spontaneous, creative, and sometimes startling. Part of preparing for unexpected breakthroughs is releasing rigid expectations and embracing trust. Trust that what is coming is sufficient, perfect, and exactly what you need at the exact moment you need it. Trust that God sees the whole picture, even when you can only see fragments. Trust that every delay, every obstacle, and every detour has been orchestrated for your ultimate good. When you approach life with this mindset, you create a space for miracles to occur that you could not have anticipated. Your heart becomes a vessel ready to receive the unexpected, and your spirit remains flexible and receptive. Additionally, unexpected breakthroughs often come through people, opportunities, or connections you may not have considered. God uses circumstances and individuals in ways that surpass natural reasoning. Someone who seems unrelated to your journey may play a pivotal role in your breakthrough. A door you thought was closed may open in a completely different location. in a different sector, or through a different method than you imagined. Recognizing and embracing these unexpected avenues is essential to experiencing the fullness of God's provision. Often, we resist what is unfamiliar because it challenges our comfort zones. We prefer solutions that match our plans, even if they are limited. But the greatest breakthroughs demand a willingness to step into uncertainty, to trust in divine creativity, and to embrace outcomes that are bigger than our own imagination. Your breakthrough may not come the way you want it, the way you expect it, or the way the world would validate it, yet it will come in the way that is perfectly aligned with God's purpose, perfectly timed for your life, and perfectly designed to transform your circumstances. Preparing for this requires faith, patience, and openness to the miraculous. When you accept that breakthroughs can be unexpected, you are no longer bound by narrow thinking, and you are positioned to receive blessings in abundance. This mindset shifts your focus from the how to the who, trusting God to orchestrate, direct, and deliver beyond what you could ask or imagine. By embracing this truth, your spirit remains hopeful, your faith stays resilient, and your life becomes a canvas for extraordinary manifestations that defy human logic. Faith requires preparation for the unseen. This is a principle that many struggle to fully grasp because it challenges us to act and believe in ways that are not immediately visible or tangible. True faith is never passive. It is always active. It requires not only trust in what God has promised, but also readiness for what has not yet appeared. Preparation is the bridge between expectation and manifestation. Without preparation, faith can remain dormant, prayer can remain unanswered, and potential breakthroughs can be delayed. Many people pray for miracles, ask for blessings, and hope for divine intervention. Yet they are not fully prepared to receive what they are asking for. God's blessings are often withheld not out of denial, but because the heart, mind, and spirit are not yet aligned to fully handle what is coming. Faith that is unprepared can falter when the opportunity arises. Preparation for the unseen means cultivating discipline in your thoughts, character, and actions, even when you cannot yet see the outcome. It is about training your mind to align with God's promises rather than the evidence of your circumstances. It is about developing resilience so that when challenges arise, you do not waver. It is about refining patience so that the waiting period becomes an intentional time of growth rather than a season of frustration. One of the most critical aspects of preparation for the unseen is developing a heart of obedience. Often, God reveals glimpses of what is to come through small instructions, nudges, or convictions. Faith requires listening to these promptings and acting on them, even when there is no immediate reward. Each act of obedience, no matter how small, positions you closer to the fulfillment of your promise. The story of Noah is a powerful example of preparation for the unseen. Noah was instructed to build an ark for a flood that had not yet come. The vision was clear, but the manifestation was invisible. Building the ark required faith, diligence, and trust in God's word, even when the evidence of a flood was nowhere in sight. His preparation positioned him to survive the coming storm and to steward life into the next generation. Similarly, in our lives, God calls us to prepare for our breakthroughs before they arrive. This preparation often occurs through trials, challenges, and seasons of uncertainty. These moments refine our character, teach endurance, and reveal the strength of our faith. Preparation is rarely glamorous or comfortable, but it is essential for faith to be fruitful. Another element of preparing for the unseen is cultivating a mindset of expectation coupled with action. Faith is not passive hope. It is an active pursuit of what you cannot yet see. It requires stepping forward, making decisions, and taking initiatives that align with your vision and with God's guidance. Action without faith may be reckless, but faith without preparation is incomplete. The two must work together. Spiritual preparation also involves cultivating integrity, humility, and reliance on God rather than relying solely on your own understanding. These qualities ensure that when the unseen manifests, you are able to steward it with wisdom and grace. Without preparation, blessings can be mishandled, opportunities squandered, and promises left unfulfilled. Preparing for the unseen also requires vigilance and discernment. The enemy often seeks to distract, discourage, or derail those who are on the verge of a breakthrough. Faith that is prepared for the unseen remains anchored in God's truth, recognizes deception, and stays committed to the path laid before it. This is why spiritual disciplines such as prayer, meditation, study, and reflection are essential. They equip your heart and mind to navigate uncertainty and align with God's will, ensuring that when the breakthrough arrives, you are ready to receive it fully. Many people underestimate the importance of preparation because they focus solely on the moment of manifestation rather than the process that leads to it. But the unseen is where true transformation occurs. Preparation for the unseen shapes your character, strengthens your resolve, and builds the spiritual muscles necessary to carry the weight of your blessing. The visible manifestation is only the tip of the iceberg. The unseen preparation is the foundation that supports it. Faith requires a willingness to move forward even when there is no visible sign of progress, to remain steadfast when results seem delayed, and to act with confidence despite uncertainty. Each step taken in preparation for what is unseen builds momentum, aligns your spirit with God's plan, and positions you for extraordinary outcomes. Those who embrace preparation for the unseen discover that when God finally moves, the manifestation is not only sudden, but also powerful, lasting, and perfectly timed. Preparation ensures that your breakthrough is not accidental, but intentional, not delayed, but purposeful, and not fleeting, but eternal. God uses challenges to orchestrate your miracles. This truth can be difficult to accept when you are standing in the middle of hardship, uncertainty, or struggle, when life feels heavy, when the road ahead feels blocked, when prayers seem unanswered. It is natural to question why difficulties continue to show up. But challenges are not always punishments or obstacles meant to destroy you. Many times they are divine tools carefully shaped and positioned to develop you, prepare you, and position you for miracles you could not experience without them. Challenges stretch your faith. They force you to rely on God more deeply than you would if everything were easy, predictable, and convenient. When circumstances become uncomfortable, you are pushed out of complacency. You are invited into deeper trust, greater dependence, and fuller surrender. It is in those moments of pressure that faith becomes more than a concept. It becomes your anchor, your strength, and your source of hope. Without challenges, faith remains untested. With challenges, faith becomes refined like gold. God also uses challenges to reveal what is inside you. Pressure exposes strength, resilience, wounds, and weaknesses. It shows you where healing is needed, where growth is necessary, and where transformation must take place. You may think you are strong until life places you in a season where you have no choice but to trust God completely. You may think you are patient until you have to wait longer than you expected. You may think you have surrendered until God asks you to release something you deeply love. Challenges reveal truth, and truth is the beginning of growth. What God exposes, He intends to heal, develop, or strengthen. The challenge becomes a classroom where God teaches you who you are, who He is, and what faith really looks like when it is lived out. Another reason God uses challenges is to shift your direction. Sometimes you are so attached to your own plans, routines, or environments that you would never move unless something pushed you. Challenges interrupt patterns. They close doors you would have otherwise tried to force open. They redirect your path away from what is comfortable and toward what is purposeful. You may not understand the redirection in the moment, but later you begin to see that the closed door was protection, that the loss was positioning, and that the discomfort was preparation for something greater. God will sometimes allow a shaking to move you into alignment with your destiny because He sees what you cannot see. Challenges also cultivate compassion, humility, and empathy. When you walk through pain, you begin to understand others more deeply. You become less judgmental and more compassionate. You begin to value grace in a way that only experience can teach. God often uses your greatest challenges to prepare you to minister, serve, lead, or encourage others. The place where you once suffered can become the very place where you offer hope. Your testimony is birthed in the valley, not on the mountaintop. Your miracle is not just for you. It becomes a story that reminds others of God's faithfulness. One of the most powerful aspects of God using challenges to orchestrate miracles is that he never wastes pain. Every tear, every struggle, every sleepless night, and every unanswered question becomes part of a much bigger story. God specializes in turning what was meant for harm into something that works for your good. The very situation that caused you pain may become the platform for your breakthrough. The season that broke you may be the same season that rebuilt you into someone stronger, wiser, and more spiritually grounded. Miracles are not always loud and dramatic. Sometimes the miracle is the strength you gained, the faith that deepened, the peace that remains in the storm, or the courage you found when everything around you said you should quit. Challenges also draw you closer to God. When life is easy, prayer can become casual or inconsistent. But when you are in the fire, you begin to seek God with intensity, urgency, and sincerity. Your conversations with him become deeper. Your worship becomes more authentic. Your dependence becomes total. God values relationship over convenience. If challenges are what lead you back into intimacy with him, then even the storm carries purpose. Through the trial, you learn that God is not only the God of blessings, but also the God who sits with you in the struggle, who holds you in the valley, and who walks beside you through every dark place. There are also miracles that can only be experienced on the other side of perseverance. Some breakthroughs are reserved for those who refuse to quit. The challenge becomes the doorway to a greater level of faith, authority, and spiritual maturity. If everything came easily, you would never discover the depth of your resilience or the magnitude of God's sustaining power. Challenges refine you, mold you, and prepare you to handle the weight of the miracle when it finally arrives. A miracle is not just about what you receive. It is also about who you become while you wait. So when challenges arise, instead of only asking, why is this happening to me? Begin to ask, what is this shaping in me? What is God preparing me for? How might this be orchestrating something greater than I can presently see? That shift in perspective allows you to see your challenge not as the end, but as part of the divine process leading you toward transformation, breakthrough, and the unfolding of God's miraculous work in your life. Joy and praise unlock divine surprises. There is a supernatural power released when you choose joy and lift up praise, even in seasons when life does not look the way you expected. Joy is not denial, and praise is not pretending. They are acts of faith. They are declarations that say, I trust God beyond what I see. I believe in his goodness even when circumstances try to convince me otherwise. When you choose joy, you are refusing to allow circumstance to control your spirit. When you choose praise, you are aligning your heart with heaven, opening the door for God to move in unexpected, extraordinary ways. There are moments in life when everything in you wants to complain, worry, retreat, or break down under the pressure. Yet it is in those very moments that choosing joy becomes the most powerful spiritual weapon you possess. Joy is strength. Joy protects your spirit from despair. Joy refuses to surrender hope. And when you anchor yourself in joy, you create space for divine surprises to unfold in your life. Praise shifts atmospheres. It changes the environment of your heart and the climate of your spirit. Even in the darkest seasons, praise becomes a light. It reminds you that God is still sovereign, still faithful, still working, and still worthy. Praise lifts your gaze from the problem to the provider, from the storm to the one who calms it. There is a mystery in how praise works. It may not change your circumstances immediately, but it always changes you. It realigns your spirit with God's truth. It brings your heart back into alignment with his promises. It breaks heaviness. It dismantles fear. It releases peace. And because God responds to faith, your joy and praise create an atmosphere for miracles to manifest. When you praise despite your pain, you are saying, God, I trust you with the outcome. That posture of trust invites divine intervention. Think about how many times in Scripture breakthroughs occurred in environments of praise. Walls fell, chains broke, prison doors opened, and lives were transformed while people were praising. Praise was not a reaction to what God had done. It was a declaration of faith in who he is. Joy and praise are prophetic. They speak into the unseen. They declare victory before it arrives. They acknowledge that God is able, willing, and active. And when heaven hears faith, heaven responds. Joy is also contagious. It strengthens not only you, but those around you. Your joy becomes a testimony. It becomes a reminder that God is still present in the middle of trial and that hope is never lost. When others see you maintaining joy despite adversity, they are inspired to trust God more deeply themselves. Your praise becomes a ministry. Your worship becomes a witness. Joy and praise also protect your heart from bitterness, resentment, and despair. Life may not always be fair. People may disappoint you. Seasons may stretch you. But when your joy is rooted in God rather than in circumstances, it remains steady through every season. Praise keeps your heart tender, humble, and grateful. It prevents your soul from hardening under pressure. It keeps you spiritually alive and connected to the source of true strength. Joy and praise also shift your perspective. Instead of focusing on what is missing, you begin to recognize what God is already doing. You see his hand in the small things. You notice blessings you may have previously overlooked. Gratitude grows, faith deepens, hope strengthens. And where hope grows, miracles follow. Divine surprises are not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet shifts in your heart, unexpected opportunities, restored relationships, healing moments, or sudden breakthroughs that could only be orchestrated by God. Another powerful truth is that joy and praise are choices. They do not always come naturally. Sometimes you have to praise through tears. Sometimes you have to choose joy while still feeling the weight of uncertainty. But every time you choose joy over despair and praise over fear, you are exercising spiritual authority. You are declaring that your circumstances do not rule your spirit. You are placing God back on the throne of your heart. Joy and praise also keep you spiritually alert and aligned. They tune your heart to hear God's voice more clearly. A heart filled with gratitude is more receptive to divine instruction. A spirit that praises is open to divine movement. And when you are spiritually aligned, you are more aware of the ways God is already surprising you, protecting you, guiding you, and blessing you behind the scenes. Sometimes the divine surprise is not that God changes your circumstances, but that he changes you in the midst of them. He strengthens you. He deepens your character. He increases your resilience. He grows your faith until you can carry the blessing you have been praying for. Joy and praise make you ready. They prepare your heart for what is coming. They keep your spirit lifted while you wait, while you endure, and while you grow. So when life feels heavy, when prayers feel unanswered, when breakthrough seems distant, remember that joy and praise are not optional extras in the life of faith. They are keys. They unlock doors. They shift atmospheres. They draw heaven near. And in the presence of God, divine surprises are always possible.